going to discuss about types of facts and types of dimensions. So what are the different types of facts we have and what are the different types of dimensions? So types of facts is nothing but normally we have fact. So fact is a numerical value which can be aggregated and which impacts on the business. And what are the different types of facts in the sense so we do have different types of facts like so first additive fact, second one semi-additive fact, and third one is non-additive fact. So additive fact, semi-additive fact, and non-additive fact. So additive fact in the sense so if a particular fact if a particular fact is going to aggregate across all the dimensions within a fact table, so I'm going to give that definition additive fact. So this is the definition if a fact can be aggregate across all the dimensions within a fact table, all the dimensions in the sense all the key columns, all the key columns within a fact table. So normally we have a fact table. So example for fact table is we already discussed with day id, day underscore id or day id, city, so these are key columns day id, city id, customer id, and item table. So these are key columns, and we do have a fact, sales, profit. So example for additive fact, like so these are key columns this is a fact table. So normally additive fact in the sense, so it's only take only or consider only a fact table. So fact table with key columns and a fact. So normally additive fact is called a fact can be aggregated. Like let us take sales is a fact. A fact can be aggregated across all the dimensions in the sense, so DID, city ID, customer ID, and item ID across all the dimensions within a fact table is called as an additive fact. It's a simple definition. So uh, like so we should get a meaningful data. When we are going to perform an aggregation. So normally you can go for a day level sales, right? So day level or a day wise. So if you get a report like day wise sales, if it is possible, then it is an additive fact. So every day, right? So we can go for day level sales reporting. So we can also go for a city wise, every individual city wise sales. So it is also possible. And customer wise sales, customer wise, item wise. So we can go for a day wise sales. Day wise sales in the sense like day comma sales, like in a select query, right? So we can go for a select day comma sales from table name. So is that possible or not? So normally, yeah, day level sales is possible, or day wise sales, city wise sales, customer wise sales, item wise sales is also possible. So this particular fact, sales is an additive fact. Sales is also called as an additive fact. So it's a simple definition or a simple like these points, right? So it's pretty much for an interview point of view, not much in a like technical or what we call as in a project level. So we just want to know whether it is an additive fact or a non-additive fact or a semi-additive fact. So it's for a simple like conceptual wise, so not that much important, but we need to know the concept because sometimes it may ask in an interview. So profit, so whenever we are going to get the sales, right, it is also possible to get the profit results. So day wise profit, so if you get a day wise sales, we can also go for a day wise profit as well. So day wise profit and day wise or a city wise profit, customer wise profit, item wise profit. So like we can go for a day wise, city wise sales and a profit. So now profit is also called as an additive fact. So like you can take any example, like any particular dimension or a measure or anything. So additive fact and a semi additive fact or a non additive fact. So now we have an example, like let us take marks, right? So we discussed about a marks, like a marks is also called as an a fact. So if this particular marks is going to aggregate across all the dimension or not, let we can check with those all the dimensions. So is it possible to get a day wise marks? Marks is like a student or a subject marks. So every day wise marks, it is not possible. So this is not a additive fact, because across all the dimensions, sales is going to aggregate across all the dimensions, profit is aggregated across all the dimensions. So now we have a fact called marks. So let us take marks. So we cannot go for marks here. So not possible, not possible, like marks, not non-aggregator, like non-aggregator with marks, right? So and it is also not possible with city-wise marks. It is also not possible with customer. But if you have a student student ID, so instead of customer ID, let us take student ID. So student wise marks is possible, student wise marks is possible. So this is an additive fact, like for student it is going to aggregate. But whenever, if a particular fact is going to aggregate across all the dimensions, it is called as an additive fact. And whenever, if a particular fact is going to aggregate across only few dimensions, one or more, like only fewer dimensions, not all dimensions, then this particular fact is called as an semi additive fact. So this is called as a semi additive fact. So this is semi additive fact. Or you can also take like balance, account balance. Account balance. So if we have an account balance, like normally we have an account balance, right? So that is the fact. So like a money related credit or a debit information. So whenever, right, so now we can check with the account balance, like with these dimensions, whether it is a semi additive or a non additive or a additive fact. So this is very important fact for a semi additive fact. So normally, like for a day level, right? So for a day level we can go for account balance. For every day we can check with the balance. But as per the business, right, as per the business analysis, it is not preferable. So account balance, like a day level balance, we can showcase, we do get in a grand total, but this particular reporting is only the purpose of end users. So for the users, right, so they don't want to see all the grand total balance, so they don't want to see all other including balance, so they want to see their own balance, account balance. So for a day level it gets all the data, all the account balance. So it is not preferable, so balance is not preferable. So it's not a meaningful data. Actually we do get a value, but it's not a meaningful data. So this is very important. Account balance is not going to aggregate across day level. And the same like a city level, so we do get a city level total balance, but it is not preferable for the users. So user don't want to see all the other balances, right? So they want to go for only their own account balance. So balance, account balance is not going to aggregate across day ID, not going to aggregate across city ID, not going to aggregate across item ID. So item is different and the balance is different. But this particular account balance, right, this particular account balance is going to aggregate across customer in the sense customer account number. So customer account, so it's simple, you can easily differentiate with the balance and these things. So account balance is also a semi additive fact. Or you can also go with different semi additive facts. I just want to differentiate with the semi additive fact because normally you can answer this particular question. So account balance is a semi additive fact, and we do have marks is a semi additive fact. It depends on key columns. It depends on a key columns. And we do have another fact, similar to marks and account balance, we have a salary. So we have a salary. So now you can see, so we can go for every individual day wise salary, right? We can go for every individual day wise salary, but it is not preferable. Similar to account balance, salary is also not preferable, or it we don't get any meaningful data for this particular day ID. So normally, day level salary is possible, but for the perspective of end users, right, it is not we don't get any meaningful data. So this is excluding, we don't we can exclude day ID. Same as city ID, so city wise balance, like city wise salary, for we can go for employee wise city wise balance, but we cannot go for only city wise balance. It is not preferable because aggregation takes place across one city level. And we can go for a customer ID or a student ID or a employee ID. So we can go for a employee wise salary. So it is also a semi additive fact. It is also a semi additive fact. So example for semi additive fact is account balance or salary or marks, or you can go for any example, we can differentiate with the dimensions. So it is clear, right? So a fact can be aggregated across all the dimensions within a fact table. Within a fact table is called as a semi additive fact. And a fact can be aggregated. So this is one particular definition, fact can be aggregated across a few dimensions, is called as a semi-additive fact. So just remember, within a fact table, so within a fact table we are not going to differentiate another another dimension table or anything. So, and non-additive fact. So normally this is one point where you can expect an interview question. So non-additive facts in the sense like a non-aggregate facts. Non-aggregate facts. Example for non-aggregate facts is example. So ratios, ratios, or we can go for percentages, percentage calculations. So example for non-aggregate fact is ratios and percentages. So non-aggregate in the sense you can easily differentiate with the other facts, because a non-aggregate fact is nothing but if a particular fact is going to if a particular fact is not going to aggregate across any dimensions, not going to aggregate across any dimensions, that is called as a non-aggregate fact. So example for non-aggregate fact is, so if you are performing any ratios, right, ratios or percentage calculation, so we do get a non-aggregate fact. So that particular fact is called as a non-aggregate fact. So this is important, like types of facts. So you can easily differentiate with the three types of facts, like additive fact, semi-additive fact, and non-additive fact. So additive fact in the sense, if a fact is going to aggregate across all the dimensions, all the key columns within a fact table, that is called as a additive fact. So example for additive fact is like a, so you can take sales, profit, but we have to check with the dimensions whether we have a perfect dimensions or not. So this is called as an additive fact. And semi-additive fact in the sense, if a particular fact can be aggregated across only a few dimensions, only a few dimensions in the sense if it is going to aggregate across one dimension or two dimensions or any number of dimensions, but not all the dimensions, only a few dimensions within a fact table, so that is called as an additive fact. And non-additive fact in the sense, if that particular fact is not going to aggregate across any dimensions, across any dimensions, so that is called as a non-additive fact. So example for non-additive facts are ratios and percentages, ratios and percentages. So this is one point, and we have another concept called as the types of dimensions. We have another concept called types of dimensions. So this is very important when it comes to like interview, or when it comes to scenario wise. So like, so types of dimensions. So what are the different types of dimensions we have? So different types of dimensions. So first one, conformer dimension, and second one, shrink shrink dimension, and we have role play dimension, and we have a junk dimension, or dimension table. Like it's a conform types of dimensions or a dimension tables. So conform dimension table, or a shrink dimension table, or a role play dimension, junk dimension, and we have a degenerate dimension. And we have important concepts: slowly changing dimension. So we have the the types of dimension tables or types of dimensions. So conformer dimension, shrink dimension, role play dimension, junk dimension, and degenerate. So these are 5 dimension tables or 5 dimensions types of dimensions. And the sixth one is very important, like slowly changing dimension. So what is meant by slowly changing dimensions? And we do have different types of slowly changing dimensions as well. So we are going to discuss that particular part. But yeah, first we can discuss with the conformer dimension. So it's a simple definition, like when it comes to definition point of view or a scenario, it's a simple definition. And you can like easily remember like this particular point, but just concentrate like what is meant by a conformer or a shrink or a role play or a junk dimension. So when it comes to important, right, so conform dimension is very important. And role play, normally we discuss with the role play because sometimes in a project, right, we do have a role play dimensions, so we have to avoid role play dimensions. And we do have a slowly changing dimensions. So these three are pretty much like important, like a role play. And we can go with the conformer dimension. So what is meant by a conformer dimension? Conformer dimension in the sense, if so if a dimension table is related to more than one fact table, more than a fact table, or more than one fact table. So if a dimension table is related to more than one fact table, then it is called as a conformer dimension. If a dimension table is related to more than one fact table, example, like normally this is a dimension table, right? So normally this is a dimension table, and we do have a fact table here. So this particular dimension table is related to only one single fact table. This is a fact table, right? So only one single fact table. So this is called as a normal, like this is called as a normal relationship. So a fact table to a dimension table. And we discuss with a star schema, if a fact table, is like is surrounded by multiple dimension tables, if a fact table is surrounded by multiple dimension tables, and that particular dimension table is directly related to a fact table, so this is called as a star schema. But when it comes to conformal dimension, if a dimension table is related to more than one fact table, if a dimension is related to more than one fact table, so that is called as a conformal dimension. So now you can see, so this is one day id, and here we have a day id, and we have like we have only one fact table. So let us you can also place another fact table with a different profit or a sale. So we have a sales here, but you can distinguish, like you can separate profit and a discount into another fact table, and you can relate with another table, like you can go for a simple table here. So this is another fact table. So now place day id here. Now place day id, and we can go for a like a marks or salary. So this is another fact table, and we can also differentiate with the day id. So this is the key column where we are going to perform some join. So day id, and day id, this is another fact table, right? So if a particular dimension is related to, or if a particular dimension table is related to more than one single fact table, it is almost similar to star schema, but not like a star schema. But yeah, this is what, it's a simple definition. Just remember, if a dimension table is related to more than one fact table, it is called as a conformal dimension. So what is meant by shrink dimension? So shrink dimension in the sense, like it's simple, like so normally conformal dimension is almost similar to almost similar to opposite to star schema. Like a dimension table is related to more than one fact table. And shrink dimension is almost similar to snowflake schema. Shrink dimension is almost similar to snowflake schema. But in an interview point of view, right, so we cannot go for a opposite to star schema or something. So this is just for a remember or just for a conceptual wise. So but you can go for a simple definition. So what is meant by conformer dimension? In the sense we can answer like if a dimension table is related to more than one single fact table, so that is called as a conformer dimension. So what is meant by shrink dimension? Shrink dimension is almost similar to snowflake schema. Similar to snowflake schema. So shrink dimension in the sense if so it's a simple definition. So if a dimension table is indirectly related to a fact table, so that is called as a shrink dimension. So shrink dimension in the sense we already discussed, it is almost similar to a snowflake schema. So what is meant by snowflake schema? So snowflake schema in the sense, so if a particular dimension table is divided into multiple dimension tables and that particular dimension table is indirectly related to a fact table. So dividing of a dimension table is we do have a concept in a snowflake schema, but here it's the same, almost similar. Like if that particular dimension table is indirectly related to a fact table, so that is called as a shrink dimension table. So now you can see, so we do have shrink dimension table like indirectly related. So what are the tables we have indirectly related? like so we can go for a month table. So month table is indirectly related to a fact table. Month table is indirectly related to a fact table, and quarter table is indirectly related to a fact table, and quarter, and we do have a year table. So we have a month table, we have a quarter table, and we have a year table. So this is what if a particular, if a particular dimension table is indirectly related to a fact table, so that is called as a shrink dimension. That is called as a shrink dimension. So now you can see, like month table, right? So month table, we have a day id, day table, and a fact table. So in between month table we have a day table here, so it is not a direct relationship. So month is also called as a shrink dimension, and quarter table is also called as a shrink dimension table, and we do have a year table. So year is also called as a shrink dimension table. So it's a simple definition, conformer dimension or a shrink dimension. So if a particular dimension table is related to more than one fact table, it is conform. And shrink in the sense if that particular dimension table is indirectly related to a fact table, it is called as a it is similar to snowflake schema, so that is called as a shrink dimension table. So what is meant by role play dimension? What is meant by a role play dimension in the sense, like if a dimension is going to play more than one role, if a dimension is going to play more than one role. role play dimension, and we have to avoid, so in a business or in a like a normal schema level or in a project level, right? So we have to avoid role play dimension. So avoid role play dimension, so I'm going to explain that. So why we go for a, why we have a role play dimension, why we have to avoid a role play dimension, in the sense, normally if a dimension, so in the definition point of view, you can understand, if a particular dimension is going to play more than one role, so that is called as a role play dimension. So let us take the perfect example for role play dimension is like a date. So date dimension, so if sometimes this particular date, right, so we have a like hide date. So hide date in the sense, hide date is like a joining date, like a date of joining, like in a normal organization, right, or in an organization when we are going to join, right, that is become in a hide date. So hide date or a fixed date or canonical date, so we call as a canonical dates, fixed or order date, ship date. So we do have a order date, ship date, and fixed date, required date. So we do have lots of dates. But if we have only one particular column, day column, in my database, and every time I'm going to use like a order date or a ship date or a start date or a end date, so it shows only date. Like you have a start date, but it is in my reporting, it is showing like a date. So date. So this is my reporting, like this is a simple date related thing, but whenever I'm going to showcase the same results in my report, like or a normal reporting site, so any person or any end user, like end user does not understand this particular date. So what is this date? It's a normal date and it is also a date. So why we go for a different or a similar date names? So but I know I'm going to create this particular report. So as a developer, I know this is a start date and this is an end date. So we are going to create these reports for the perspective of end user. So we have to go for a clarity in this particular reporting. So whenever a user logins, right, has to understand. So what is this and what is that? Like we have to maintain some clarity, like or it's a flexibility. So users flexibility, what we call as a user flexibility, or a user can interact with that particular dashboard. So that is what a simple definition or a simple thing, like so now you can see, so role play dimension, if that particular dimension date is a dimension, if this dimension is going to play more than one role. So a date, like here we have a date and here also we have a date, but I know this is a start date and I know this is end date. So start date in the sense, so it is very clear, like this particular date is a start date and this particular date is a end date. So start date and an end date. So now you can see a start date in the sense, so it is also a date, it is also a date. So by using aliases, alias in the sense a different name. So by using aliases, we can avoid, we can avoid, or we can go for removal, avoid role play dimension. We can avoid role play dimension. So this is very important point, like by using aliases, you can avoid role play dimension. So a role play dimension is nothing but if a particular dimension is going to play more than one role, so that particular dimension is called as a role play dimension. So Okay, example for role play dimension is date. So normally, if that particular date displays same similar date, like a date and date, so no one will understand like which one is a date and what is that, like so as per the business, so I can understand. So we can go for rename or aliasing. So that is called aliasing. So alias in the sense like a different name. So now you can see like it is a start date. So we can go for aliasing, and we can go for a simple renaming of that particular column as a start date and end date. So he can understand, okay, this is the start date in my business and this is end date in my business perspective. So we have to avoid, just remember, avoid role play dimension, avoid role play dimension, and we can go for a simple reporting. So this is important, like role play dimension. So whenever you have a role play dimension, you have to avoid in a reporting site. So that is one point. And we have a concept called junk dimension, degenerate dimension, and slowly changing dimension. So we can discuss for tomorrow, but just go through this particular concept like a conformed string dimension, role play dimension, and we do have a facts, additive fact, semi-additive fact, and a non-additive fact. So yeah, that is what, like, yeah. Thank you.